coming.
And I have been flown in here specifically to help lead this training session with all you all. But first, if it's okay with you, we're going to play America's favorite game show! Yeah! Today, we are going to engage in a game of wordsmithing, a game of mind reading. It's a game called Password. That's right. Let me explain the rules so you know what's going on. In case you aren't 40 years old and watched TV back in the 70s and 80s. So, Password is a game where one person from each of the teams that we'll divide into will be up front, facing their team. Each team will have one word clue to give their team, and the team has to guess the correct password. If they don't guess the correct word, we move on to the next team. And they give another word that will add to the clue that was given, and then team 2 can try to guess the word. If that word isn't guessed, we move on to team 3 and 4, and then back to team 1, and we just keep going until the word is guessed. If the first team that starts each round guesses it correctly on the first guess, they get 10 points. If the next team guesses it after one incorrect guess, they get 9 points, and it goes all the way down. And if you can't guess it after 10 guesses, I don't have any words to say about that. But most likely that won't happen. But you get the point. Each team gets that many points, and so we'll just see how the game rolls around. Today's theme for Password is summer camp. Oh. I thought that would be appropriate. So, here's what we need to do. We're going to just number off really quickly, 1 through 4. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
2, 3,
1, 2, 3,
4,
1,
3. Beautiful. Okay, 1's right here, 2's right here, 3's right here, 4's right here. What do you do?
I don't know why I
Three, Jason? 3? Yes! Okay, please identify on your team who is the oldest member of that team. They are going to be the first clue givers. Alright, I need the oldest person from each group to come stand in front, even with this mic stand, facing the crowd. Now, these are the clues that we'll be using tonight. These are the secret passwords. They have been intentionally chosen, but randomly mixed up, so even I won't know what they are until I reveal it. So I'm going to show the word to each of the people up here. You'll all be guessing the same one word for the first round. And remember, the clues must only be one word, not a phrase, one word. Hyphenated words don't count because some people on America's Favorite Game Show like to argue about which words are hyphenated and which words are 2 words. So we just say no hyphenated words. It's easier. It makes it tougher too. But I believe you're up for the challenge. So, here is the first. You cannot say it starts with, well, first of all, that's more than one word. So you can't use the letters of the word to be the clue. You also cannot say any part of the word. So if the word was minivan, you can't say van. That's a part of the word, okay?
Can you say Vinny?
Correct. Yes. Okay.
If it's caterpillar, I can't say pillar.
No. That's part of the word. Here's your first word.
Oh yeah, baby.
Is it clear what word you're trying to describe? Okay. Team 1, you're going to be getting the first clue to guess. Think of one word. The rest of you can be thinking of a good word because you'll be adding to this. Are you ready?
Plants.
Oh!
Okay, Team 1, do you have a guess what the secret password might be?
Hit it. Creation?
I'm sorry, that is not the password. That's a great guess. All right. Team 2, here's your code word.
Outside.
That's 2 words.
Outside is one word and it's not hyphenated. Sorry.
That was my first thought. I didn't even think of that. That was my first
I think it's fine. Okay.
I think it's one.
Do
Do you have a guess?
garden?
Garden is not the secret password. Okay, do you want to come closer to your team over here? I'm sure it'll help. Okay, Team 3. Team 3, where are you at? Right here? Right here, okay.
Wildlife.
Forest.
Forest is not the correct answer. Team 4, you have a word.
Animals.
Team 4, do you have a guess? Okay, if you're consulting. Yeah, and I'll kind of talk over you so they can't hear your whispering guesses, because we wouldn't want even your second guess to be heard by the other teams as a guess.
Do you guys have
All right, 5 seconds. 5, 4.
All right, we're gonna go with deer.
Deer is not the correct answer. Okay, we are going back to Team 1 for round 2. This is now worth 6 points if you guess it right. Do you have another word for them?
Nurture.
Think about all the clues that have been given so far and see if you have a guess of what it might be. Team 1, do you have a guess?
Nature.
Nature is the correct answer! Yes! Nurture versus nature, I like it. Okay, Team 1, sitting strong with 6 points. Okay, I need now another person. We have 4 rounds, so everyone should get a chance to participate. So, nominate the next oldest person, or discover who the next oldest person is, send them on up there. Okay, second round, here's your word. Make sure I'm not holding it upside down. Okay, all right. So we are going to start with Team 2 this round. Okay, so Team 2 gets to start, and we'll be back this way. So everyone has the fair advantage in the numbering round. Okay, do you have a word ready?
Yes.
One word. All right, Team 2, are you ready? What's your word?
Campfire.
Oh. JK. That's my guess.
S'mores is the correct answer! Wow! Wow! 10 points for Team 2. I'm sorry, you have to go sit down again.
Okay, but
Yeah.
we're a group of 3, so I'm just
That's
gonna
right.
stay standing.
You can. No, we're gonna rotate. We're gonna do another round. If your team feels like it would be a fair thing for you to come back up as your 4th representative.
Absolutely
then
not.
we're good. Okay, so we are on round number 3. We've got our 4 contestants up front. And
Yeah.
this is your word. This is your word. Remember, your clues must only be a word. This is not charades either, okay? I forgot to mention that clue. So, or that rule about clues. Okay, we're going to start with team 3 first. Do you have a word that you can give?
Yeah. Yarn. So was
Yarn.
Yeah, the word or what?
Yes.
She answered the question and then gave it. All right.
Oh, it's
Bum, 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 bum. I don't know why I thought another one bites the dust. Seems like a weird sound. Team 3, do you have an answer?
Go, send it.
friendship bracelets.
Bracelet is the correct word. We're gonna give it to you. Yes. Wow. Okay. Very good.
Come on.
Woo.
Let's go.
All right. Team 4. You would start.
Alright.
I would start.
Now
Reese,
for
we're
the
starting
old
with team
answer.
4. All right. Okay.
Who's the youngest?
Here's the last word. Everybody understand it? Okay, we're gonna start down here with team 4. You get one word to describe the secret password. You have a word.
Yeah. Prayers.
Prayers. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Chapel.
Chapel is not the correct word. Great guess. Great guess. Good clue. Do you have another word?
Scripture.
I'm writing my own theme song now. Just kind of making noise so we can't hear the whispers. Yes. Okay. Say it again. Worship is not the correct answer. I'm sorry.
The fake out there was
Okay.
next level.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, team 2. Do you have a word to give? 1 point for honesty.
I don't know what it is. That's 3 words.
Okay, I believe you have a word. Ready?
Book.
That's a good clue. Good clue. Yes. Even your opponents are affirming you in that. All right. Bible is not the correct answer. Valid guess. Okay. Team 3.
We gotta get it.
Bring it on home.
Nighttime.
Oh, obviously. Devotions.
Devotions is the correct answer!
After the first one, I was like, I'm going nighttime.
With a final score of 17 points, Team 3 did take the win. Nice job. Thank you for playing America's favorite game show. I'm Cheesy Blue, signing off, ladies and gentlemen.
I love you too.
Hey guys. No. Did I miss the whole game show?
Easy left. Let's fly back. Yeah.
Oh man.
late.
I was out something. Something.
really looks like.
I just remembered I had. Anyway. All right. So I hope you had a little fun. I did. I know this is also a good opportunity to kind of see who the super over-competitive people are. Because like, I hope you had some fun, and some people are like, we didn't win. We had fun. But I want to know from you what. Obviously, that was an example of an option that you might be in charge of this summer, leading a large group gamer activity. I want to know what were some things that I did or that were a part of this opening that made it more engaging? That you were like, wow, that was really fun and engaging.
You made sure that everybody got to be involved.
Yeah, good one.
Good answer.
The energy you had.
Yeah, do we have a...
I'll get it.
Okay.
Surrender, humility, Sabbath.
Okay, I don't want to go too much further because I realize I need a piece of paper and a marker.
Tell us a joke.
So, an English cat and a French cat were in a swimming race. The English cat's name was 1, 2, 3, and the French cat's name was Antoine. Which cat won?
That's a good
The English cat.
The English cat, because the Antoine cat sank. It's funny if you know how to count in French, because that's how you count to 5. Antoine cat sank. But otherwise you're just like, that's cruel. You're talking about cats sinking. No, it's just... There you go. Joke on the spot.
I like
That was good.
Alright, and a marker.
Run for his money.
Never. Are any of these not permanent?
Will it go through the wall?
Oh, that's what I'm worried about. There we go. I mean, go. That would be really amazing. Okay, so I'm just gonna put engage. Oh, this is hard to write on this.
There's a stand right there. You can just write it on.
That's alright. Okay,
Oh,
I'll just skip the
that
cracks.
is
Yeah, and there's a little
awful.
thing there. Okay, so he said everyone is involved, so I'll just put involved. What else?
Energy.
Yeah, high energy. What other things did you, as you think back on it, even like, oh, that made it more fun. Yeah.
You were clear in direction.
Yeah, awesome. Gave clear directions.
There was never downtime. You were always saying something.
Sure. No downtime or slow
Yes, fast paced.
moments. What else?
Just creative.
Creative and fun, yeah.
Aw, that's so special.
You were yourself while being a different character.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I was-
like
Yeah,
you
it wasn't
were
even
part
up
of-
there.
Yeah. Embrace a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have just been me
Yeah.
leading the game, and it would have been a fun game.
Yeah.
But I was a character with a weird coat and a bowling pin for a microphone, right?
Yeah.
I'll even put fun props, because that could be... Camp is amazing for that. It's like, we're going to play this normal game, but we're going to use a penguin instead of a flag or something. You know what I mean? Like, so much fun. Embrace a character. Okay, what else?
You picked groups and also order.
Yeah, groups and the order. It wasn't all like, okay, figure out a group. It's just really clear,
That's
easy
true.
teams. Yeah. Yeah,
You
Joe.
made it fair for everyone.
Okay, yeah. That is important, and that's something I thought about in advance, about how can I include everyone, how can I just mix it up evenly, right? We're not gonna like play dodgeball and like, okay, if you're a college athlete, go on that side of the room. If you're not, go over here. We got our dodgeball teams. Okay. What else? Just think about every part of it. We have a good list going.
The passwords were relatable, common knowledge things. that
Sure,
everybody
yeah.
knew.
That's probably been like part of making it fair, like
Okay.
level playing field,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
or like, I don't want to say age appropriate, but when you're working with campers, age appropriate would be one of them. Yeah.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah.
Yeah, that's more fun.
The environment you were playing it in was friendly, it was quiet, you could start working here.
Yeah. Good environment. Cool. Okay, that's a great list. I like the theme song music at the beginning. I think it was fun for me, and I wasn't planning this, but like running around at the beginning, high-fiving everyone, kind of being silly and fun and funny. I think those are all great things, and these are really good ideas. Even in our program director session yesterday, we were talking about what does it take to be a good program director, and I told them, I said, you already know the answer. Like, I don't have to tell you a whole bunch of things. You already intuitively know so many of these things that make games, activities, really engaging. So I want to switch gears a little bit, brainstorming, and I want to share ideas of times that you are going to find yourself in front of a larger group. I'm thinking larger than like a cabin group, okay? As day camp leaders, as program directors, as D-team, you're going to be up in front of the whole camp, most likely, or at least a large group of campers. What are some of those times that you're going to find yourself up in front of a large group?
Chapel.
Yeah, chapel.
Leading meals.
Meal announcements, yes. Announcements.
For day camp leaders, like the end of the week, like service they do for community.
Yeah, like the kind of the closing program kind of thing. Yeah, that's a good closing programs all around. You bet.
Campfire.
Campfire. Yep.
Prayer night.
Prayer night. Yep. Like how are you up in front of people for prayer? Is it like a message or just kind of leading the evening and?
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking of is D-team, like they talk
Yeah.
before and after the prayer.
Yep. Awesome.
Before like games.
Yep. Games. Obviously, just like we got them doing. What else? I'm old. I'm just gonna stay down on my knee until.
If you have closing programs, why not opening programs?
Yeah, absolutely. Opening programs, or I mean, it's kind of like chapel, but introductions. Yep, it's a little different.
Even like staff meetings with a lot of people sometimes.
Yes, staff meeting, and even if it is a smaller group, like on a day camp of counselors or something, you're still, it's still kind of that same principle that you can use a lot of these things to just have good energy around it, right?
Transition times, like before activity while you're waiting for like the last cabin to show up.
Yeah. Those are fun. Those are the surprise! You have to lead the whole camp for 10 minutes. And you weren't planning it. All right. Jam times, yeah, or any time where the program directors have all the kids, or the day camp leaders have all the kids, or that was it Happy Fun? What did you call it here with the kids? Skills Mania? Mad Skills Mania? Yeah. So I'm just gonna put jam time or Mad Skills. It's sort of evolved over the years at both camps, so I don't know exactly what it's called. Okay, those are a great list. And, Zorro there. All right, Z. All right. Anyway. So those are examples of times when you will be in front of groups, and even just naming all of these, suddenly you go, oh yeah, I kind of didn't think of a lot of those things. But every one of these situations will be enhanced by considering some of these things in advance. Okay, I'm going to move to a handout so you have a little visual, all right? So I'm just going to hand out a few and pass it on. On the front of this, I have a little picture, and I apologize because somehow between me hitting print and it coming out of the printer, the picture moved and it covered up half the words. So I'm not really sure how that happened, but I wasn't going to reprint 25 copies just because of that. So. You are very capable people. We can figure that out. There you go. Okay, did everyone get a copy? Yeah? We're going to start on the picture side, all right? Here you have a road, and I used to draw this on the board every time, and I did this, and I'm just not a good drawer, okay? So, but it's like a perspective drawing of the road going down, and on either side of the road is a ditch, all right? And I think that there is a little bit of a danger of falling into one of these two ditches when you're thinking about like your overall ministry, okay? And on the ditch one is education, okay? Now you might be like, education isn't bad, Dan. No, you're right. You're right. But when everything you're doing is about information download, it can get real boring. And honestly, even like us in this room, your brains can only handle so much of someone talking at you, so much like information. So some people get really passionate about learning and teaching, and it's all about information. And you kind of forget, like, okay, like, slow down. We need to, sorry, got ahead of myself. The other ditch that we might fall into is kind of this, well, it's all got to be fun and goofy and wild, and it's all about entertainment. Okay, so the second ditch is entertainment. And I think these are, you can even think about it with like youth ministry or children's ministry in a church. You know, it's like, okay, is everything only about classroom? Like, is it only Sunday school and they're coming in and there's like the Bible lesson and then they get done and then they leave and, you know, it's all about education and information? Or is it only about entertainment? We're coming in and we got a game and we got the bouncy houses and we got the snacks and then they leave and it's like, why did we do this again? So I think there's a danger of realizing that, like, or of thinking, oh no, kids are going to walk away if we don't make it all just fun and games and stuff, all right? So what's the middle ground here? And that's actually the answers at the top of the page. Engage, okay? This is a word that I've come to embrace over the years. It's my favorite word when you're talking about ministry, is how do you engage people in what you're doing, okay? Because we believe that we have a mission, we have a message that is really, like, there's nothing more important, there's nothing better, there's nothing more life-giving than this message. How do we engage kids in every element of this experience at camp, all right? So I kind of put some words to help describe what it looks like for kids to be engaged. Their curiosity is piqued, creativity is maxed, authenticity is high, listening on both ends is activated, reality check often, meaning like it's not just academic way up here stuff, it's like real life. Questions are encouraged, audience participation is expected. This is the kind of environment that I think really engages people in the whole process, from Bible study to games to meal times to conversations to devotions, all of those things. So that's really what this session is. And you specifically as leaders are going to have a unique opportunity to engage people in large groups. It's also one of the things that many of us don't have a lot of experience in naturally. Like it doesn't just usually naturally happen that there's a large group of people that you're trying to like engage in something, right? Camp is really unique in that. Now, there might be other positions that you were in that we described earlier, like a drum major. Well, of course, you can be, leading your group. But a lot of times, this is new for a lot of you. And even if it's not new, it can be a little like anxiety-inducing, right? To be the one up front leading the group. So my hope is that if you flip the page over now, as we go through these top 10 lists of tips that I have, it'll help you to kind of ease the anxiety about all this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each one because most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but I have a little kind of clarification for each one, okay? So number one, make it fun. Make it fun. Another word I've used, and this might even be a better word, I said make it epic. So just write that one down too. You can use either word. epic. So one of my favorite ministry leaders of all time was actually Jason Van Hope, who was here at lunch earlier. He was in my role at Riverside for a few years, and I got to work with him in my earliest years at being at Okoboji. And one of the things that I remember him saying, don't even know if he remembers saying it, but I really remember it. He said, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And camp is notorious for that. But like, the game show is a perfect example. Like, I could have just said, hey, we're gonna play a game. Or I could get a cool costume and put some music on and flick the lights on and off and run around, but take 30 more seconds and overdo it big time and make it even more epic and fun. So just an encouragement to like think outside of the box, and if you're gonna do something, even if it's meal announcements, like how can I make this, you don't have to draw it out too long, we'll get to that, but how can I make this engaging? And one of the ways to do that is making it epic and memorable and kind of over the top. Number 2, clear is kind. My wife Allison says this all the time, and she is a kinder music teacher, but she works with parents communicating a lot of things, and she just said, clear is kind. Telling people exactly what they need to know is really important. So someone said that directions were clear, like gave clear directions. And I think that's one of the most important parts, especially if you're leading a game or activity, to just right up front give clear directions about the game. Or if you're giving mealtime announcements and people need to know what's happening next and where to go after this, and until the next thing where we're all gathered together, like just giving clear directions. And my advice is write it out. Especially the first few times you lead something, write out the directions for the game on a note card. If they're not already printed for you somewhere, write it out so that you don't get up to lead bonkers and you're like, okay, let's see. Okay, so we got people running around with socks, and if you, first, there's stations, like, you're already gonna lose people from the beginning. So write them out, there's nothing wrong with that. Mealtime announcements, you just have a scratch paper and you're like, okay, I need to remember this, need to remember this, need to remember this and this. Okay, got it. And it's right there, that's totally fine. And in fact, it's really helpful. So clear is kind. Number 3, don't yell over or at the kids. Okay? This is most common when you're trying to get their attention from a point where they were all coming into the gym or all going out to the rec field and they're visiting or waiting for people, and then you're just like, hey everyone, be quiet, okay, and you're just like yelling, and there's a lot of yelling, and yelling is never good for your voice, and sometimes it can be perceived as like being upset or anxious or something like that. So my encouragement to you is to find some creative ways to get people's attention without yelling, okay? My favorite, which I already have done this week, is if you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. And usually by the 3rd clap, everyone is listening to you. And you didn't have to yell at them, and you don't have to say, okay, if we can't be quiet, then we're not gonna get to play a game, or if you don't quiet down, then we won't have as much, it's like, then you get to be like threatening, and you're like, I don't want to be blackmailing kids. This is supposed to be fun and engaging. So find creative ways to get their attention. Sometimes like the nose goes, you just do this, and then everyone's like, and then everyone's like, what are you doing? And then you have their attention. Great, awesome. Or if you think of other creative ways. Anyone else have one right off the bat that you've seen? Yeah, Kristen.
The llama.
Oh, the silent llama or quiet llama or whatever. Yeah. Focus fox. That's So if you teach kids that early in the week, and you just go, okay, this is a focus fox sign. Whenever you see focus fox, eyes on me, mouth closed, right? Teachers usually get really good at this, right? So try to find some ways. Honestly, I was an elementary ed major, and learning some of those kinds of tricks was like the best thing I got out of the whole summer camp that applied to teaching, because then it was so easy to get kids' attention in the classroom as well. Okay, number 4, no playing yo-yo with the crowd, okay? So you do focus fox, and you get everyone's attention, then you're like, all right everybody, who's excited for dodgeball? Woo! And you're like, okay guys, quiet! Okay? You're like, shh, ah, shh, ah, okay? And it's like annoying. You're like, wait, am I supposed to? Yeah, no, I'm not supposed to. Yeah, don't play yo-yo with the crowd. Like, if you want to get them excited, do it right away and then get their attention. Or the other way around. You get their attention, explain what you're going to do, and then you'd be like, all right, who's excited? Woo! As they run off to their sides of the gym to play dodgeball, you know? Just don't play yo-yo with the crowd, all right? Number 5, be a thermostat and a thermometer, or thermometer, if you want to pronounce it that way. Be a thermostat and a thermometer. What does a thermometer do?
Tells the temperature.
It gauges and measures the temperature. What does a thermostat do?
Changes it.
It sets the temperature, okay? And you, as a large group leader, have to do a little bit of both, okay? My experience with leading games like at Rec Fun Time, for example, is that there might be a game like Uncle Dooger is a really good example. You play Uncle Dooger, you get your winners, and then all of a sudden, in your head, you gotta go, okay, are these kids still in it? And then you kind of go, okay, that was a pretty quick game. Let's do another round. Woo! All right, back to the line. I need 3 new people. Get them back out. You start playing again, and all of a sudden you're realizing people are kind of like, whatever, you know. And then you're like, okay, it might be time to switch games after this. All right. Or you might change, like set the temperature a little bit by inserting some energy into the game, or changing a rule to make it different. Like if it's a dodgeball game, you're like, okay, now we can't make a basket. So you have, you know, so like, oh, okay, it's a new challenge. But all of those are ways to engage people, all right? So constantly gauge the crowd and see what they're doing. And if you need to turn up the energy, go ahead and do that. Number 6, over-prepare and know when to move on. This is, again, it's a good, if you're leading a Rec Fun game or a song, you know, maybe you're doing like the hippo song, and you do it 3 different styles, and you're like, all right, now let's do it slow motion. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're still singing this song again. You're like, maybe this should be the last one. Okay? So know when it's time to move on to the next thing. Over-prepare is my way of saying always have a couple games in your back pocket. And just, even if you don't wear pants that have pockets, just pretend you have a figurative back pocket. When I was a program director at Ingham for 3 summers in a row, I literally had 3 games in my pocket at all times. I had 2 pennies so we could play heads or tails at any given moment. I had a deck of cards in my backpack pocket so that we could play higher or lower at any moment. And I always knew I could pull out choose thine option in a worst case scenario. You know, so like always, whenever there was a lull or a transition time and you found yourself like, oh, I gotta fill 10 minutes, an engaging game was a great option. So always over-prepare. Or if you're planning Rec Fun and you're thinking, all right, well, let's do Uncle Dooger and then we'll do Lemon Boy, right? That's like a type of almost dodgeball that never ends. Well, you might get done with Uncle Dooger and you might realize that Lemon Boy is kind of a flop with this crowd and you still have 30 minutes left. So my challenge to you is to plan actually 4 games. Even if you only play the first 2, plan 4 games, and then you'll be ready to move on. It would be like you planned for it, because you did. And no one will feel like, okay, now what are we going to do? We're just going to play Statues in the Garden again, okay, because we just... So, I just want you to, that's not a bad game choice. I'm just saying, you don't want to feel like you're on the fly. You want to feel like you know what you're doing. Number 7, never ask for the crowd's opinion. Okay, almost never. But here's my point. You do heads or tails, and you do 2 rounds, and then you're like, who wants to play it again? Inevitably, you're gonna get half the group that's like, yeah, and half the group is like, no, please. And then all of a sudden, it's a lose-lose scenario. You know, you're either gonna do it again and make half the crowd upset, or you're not gonna do it again, and then they're gonna be like, well, why did you ask? So I would say most of the time, gauge the temperature, make the decision, and just do it one more time. Even if people are like, oh, whatever. If you just do it again, it'll be great. Or if you don't do it again, it'll be great. So my opinion is don't ask for the crowd's opinion about whether they're ready to move on. Number 8, don't be a mic hog, okay? This is really important at like mealtime announcements. The cooks have prepared an amazing meal, and it's hot, and it's on the buffet, and it's ready to eat, and you're giving announcements, and your announcements are dragging on, and you're kind of making jokes, and you're teasing a table, and all of a sudden it's been 15 minutes and the food is cold, and people complain about cold food, and whose fault is it? Me. Not the cooks, even though that's who gets the bad rap, okay? So the same is true though about games. If you're playing a game, don't take 12 minutes to explain it because you're fumbling around or you're joking around or you're making, fun things. Just get to the point. The kids want to play the game. It's about them having fun, not about you having a stand-up comedy stage show, right? So just don't be a mic hog. Beware of the me monster, right? That it's all about me. Get to the point. It's about them. Number 9, limit questions from the crowd. Okay, this is classic. You're going to play capture the flag. You have your note card. You get through the rules in 4 minutes, and it feels pretty good. And you're like, is there any questions? That's great. It's likely that you missed something or that you didn't clarify something. So you take a question. If we tag them, do we have to walk to jail with them? Yeah, good point. You got to walk with them all the way to the jail, okay? And then you get another question that's like, so what if we get let go? Okay, if you let go, then they can run away free. Okay, got it. Then you get to the next question. Okay, so what if I'm running to the other side and someone tags me, but they don't grab onto me right away? Do I have to stand there? Or what if they let go? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, we're into like, what if an alien abduction happens and they get out of jail that way? When they get back on Earth, do they have to go back to jail or are they free now? It's like, we are 25 minutes into Q&A time here, people. And pretty soon it'll be like, I have a question, where do babies come from? And you're like, we're playing the game now, all right, great. So I just say, limit question and answers to the most relevant ones. Sometimes counselors will also raise their hands. Most of the time they have really good questions because they might be thinking of the thing you left out. So it's okay to call in counselors to clarify too. But once you kind of gauge that the questions are like way fringe, like hypothetical scenarios, it's time to play the game. Number 10, equip and empower your team. If conducting up front is not your forte, it's totally okay to let one of your counselors do it. If you're on day camp and you're like, I just am not the most fun game leader ever, but you have like super awesome counselor person who's amazing and engaging, let them do it. That's fine. It's great actually. It gives them some experience doing that. It empowers them, it encourages them. That's totally fine. Or if you're not the most crafty person in the world and you're like, I have to lead crafts now, and you have a counselor that's like, wearing tie-dye and has all homemade bracelets and hair things, and you're like, maybe you should lead crafts. That'd be really great. So don't be afraid to let other people take that as well, okay? We kind of already covered this last one. Leading large groups happens often at camps. We covered a bunch of different places. And so I know this was kind of a fast and furious, like, bunch of information. Again, a lot of this stuff is intuitive, but just naming it is a good reminder for all of us before we start. I mean, as early as this week, some of you are leading meal announcements. As early as next week, some of you are going to be leading rec fun and sessions where you're leading the counselor training portions, and you're going to be leading Bible studies, and then it's going to be camp and you're going to be leading. And just keep this top 10 list, in your binder and refer to it every once in a while, especially if you feel like, oh man, I led my first rec fun, bombed, Like, most likely, even for me, when I have those moments, it's like I probably was being a me monster and I was just talking too much and we didn't play as much of the game, or I didn't plan well enough and I didn't have enough things ready. So those are just like honestly my top 10 over the many years of doing this, like mistakes I've made.